What if ancient philosophers discovered 7 universal laws that modern science is only now beginning to prove? What if everything you've been taught about reality is incomplete? Hidden within a mysterious 1908 book called the Kybalion lies knowledge that elite thinkers, spiritual leaders, and quantum physicists have been quietly studying for over a century. These aren't theories. These are the actual laws that govern reality itself. And the shocking part? Once you understand them, you'll realize that the way you've been living your life has been fighting against these laws instead of working with them. For thousands of years, this knowledge was kept secret. The most powerful individuals on Earth guarded these principles jealously, understanding that whoever comprehends these universal laws gains an enormous advantage. They understood that these principles could be used to create empires, transform lives, and elevate human consciousness itself. But the time came when the world was ready, when education had advanced enough, when human potential had evolved enough. This is when the 3 initiates made their historic decision. Imagine waking up one day and discovering that the universe operates under precise, immutable rules. Not rules created by religions or governments, but fundamental laws woven into the very fabric of existence itself. This is exactly what happened when a mysterious group calling themselves the 3 Initiates published a book in 1908 that would forever change how enlightened individuals understand the cosmos. They called it the Kybalion, and within its pages lies one of the greatest secrets ever encoded into human knowledge. The Kybalion draws from an ancient tradition called Hermetic philosophy, attributed to a legendary figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great. This wasn't just any philosopher. Hermes represented the merger of the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes, combining the wisdom of 2 of history's most advanced civilizations. According to ancient accounts, Hermes Trismegistus mastered alchemy, astrology, magic, and the deepest mysteries of existence. The knowledge attributed to him didn't disappear with ancient Egypt or Greece. Instead, it was carefully preserved, passed from teacher to student through secret societies, mystery schools, and esoteric traditions throughout the centuries. But here's what's truly remarkable. The 3 initiates took this ancient, carefully guarded knowledge and distilled it into just 7 principles. 7 fundamental laws that explain how consciousness works, how reality is constructed, and how the universe maintains perfect order across trillions of galaxies and infinite dimensions. They presented these principles not as mystical mumbo-jumbo, but as practical laws that anyone could study, understand, and apply to transform their life completely. The first principle is called the principle of mentalism. It states something so profound that once you truly grasp it, your entire worldview shifts. The principle simply says, the all is mind. The universe is mental. This doesn't mean that the physical world doesn't exist. Rather, it means that consciousness, awareness, and mind are the fundamental nature of reality itself. Everything you perceive, everything you experience, everything that exists originates from universal mind or consciousness. Now, most people hear this and think it sounds like fantasy. But let's examine what modern neuroscience actually tells us. Your brain doesn't perceive reality directly. Instead, it builds a predictive model of the world based on sensory inputs and subconscious programming. Your eyes collect light, your ears collect sound waves, but your brain doesn't just record these inputs passively. It actively constructs your experience of reality. 2 people can walk down the same street and have completely different experiences because their brains are building different models of reality based on their beliefs, expectations, and mental programming. Quantum physicists have gone even further. They've discovered something called the observer effect. When a scientist observes a subatomic particle, the act of observation actually changes how that particle behaves. Before observation, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously. But the moment consciousness observes them, they collapse into a single state. This isn't metaphorical. This is what happens at the fundamental level of physical reality. Consciousness literally shapes matter. The ancient Hermetic philosophers understood this thousands of years before we had the technology to prove it scientifically. The practical implication is revolutionary. If the universe is mental, then your thoughts are literally creating your experience of reality. Your beliefs are programming your brain to filter, perceive, and interact with the world in specific ways. This is why 2 people with different beliefs will have completely different outcomes in the same situation. One person sees obstacles. Another person sees opportunities. One person sees rejection. Another person sees redirection. The circumstances are identical, but their mental programming creates completely different realities. Think about this in a business context. 2 entrepreneurs face the exact same economic downturn. One entrepreneur, believing the market is in crisis, stops investing, lays off employees, and contracts the business. Another entrepreneur, believing the downturn creates opportunity, invests more. The 3 initiates understood that the true power of mentalism lies not just in recognizing that all is mind, but in consciously directing thought to alter reality. This process is called mental alchemy. Just like ancient alchemists worked with metals in their laboratories, modern practitioners of Hermetic philosophy work with the metals of their own consciousness. They take the lead of lower thoughts, fear, despair, apathy, victim mentality, and transmute them into the gold of higher consciousness, clarity, power, joy, and creative mastery. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. This principle encapsulates an idea expressed in the famous Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above. What this means is that patterns repeat across different levels of existence. What manifests in the macrocosm manifests in the microcosm. The structure of an atom mirrors the structure of a solar system. The patterns of a single human cell reflect the patterns of entire ecosystems. The dynamics of a single relationship mirror the dynamics of nations at war. This principle reveals that the universe is fundamentally interconnected. There aren't isolated separate systems. Everything corresponds to everything else. A pattern that governs the growth of a tree also governs the growth of your business. A principle that controls the movement of planets also controls the flow of money through your life. The emotional dynamics that create conflict in your romantic relationship are the same dynamics that create conflict in your workplace. Understanding this principle allows you to recognize patterns and apply solutions from one area of life to completely different areas. Think about how modern systems theory has confirmed this principle. Experts discovered that organizational hierarchies mirror natural hierarchies in nature, that supply chain dynamics operate according to the same principles as ecosystem food chains, that information networks develop according to the same patterns as neural networks in your brain. This isn't coincidence, this is correspondence. This is the universe speaking the same language at every level of existence. The third principle is the principle of vibration. Everything in this principle is in motion. Nothing rests. Everything moves and vibrates. This might sound strange, but modern physics completely validates this understanding. Every atom in your body is vibrating. Every molecule is oscillating. Electrons are whirling around nuclei at incomprehensible speeds. Even solid matter that appears completely still is actually in a constant state of motion at the atomic and subatomic levels. But here's where it gets really interesting. The difference between different forms of matter is not the material itself, but the rate of vibration. A rock vibrates at one frequency. Water vibrates at a different frequency. Air vibrates at yet another frequency. And consciousness or spirit vibrates at an even higher frequency. According to Hermetic philosophy, the only difference between manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and spirit is the rate of vibration. Lower vibrations create denser, more solid physical forms. Higher vibrations create more refined ethereal forms. This principle extends far beyond physics. Every thought you have carries a vibration. Every emotion you feel emits a frequency. Anger vibrates at a lower frequency. Fear vibrates at a lower frequency. Anxiety and worry vibrate at lower frequencies. Meanwhile, love vibrates at a high frequency. Joy vibrates at a high frequency. Gratitude and appreciation vibrate at high frequencies. This is why people use the term vibes. When you're around someone radiating joy and love, you feel their high vibration. When you're around someone radiating anger and fear, you feel their low vibration. The practical application is profound. By consciously raising your vibration through positive thoughts, elevated emotions, and higher consciousness, you change your frequency. And when you change your frequency, you literally change what you attract into your life. You change what opportunities become visible to you. You change what people are drawn to you. This is the basis of modern frequency medicine, sound healing, color therapy, and why crystal healing practices are experiencing scientific validation. Everything is vibration, and by understanding vibration, you can deliberately tune yourself to attract what you desire. Imagine attending a party where you're vibrating at a frequency of anxiety and social fear. What will you notice? You'll notice rejection. You'll notice people judging you. You'll see evidence everywhere that you don't belong. Now imagine attending the same party while vibrating at a frequency of confidence and excitement. What will you notice? You'll notice opportunities for connection. You'll notice friendly faces. You'll see possibilities everywhere. The party is identical. The people are identical. But your vibration completely changes what you perceive and what the party means to you. This is why the principle of vibration is sometimes called the law of attraction. You literally attract what matches your vibrational frequency. Consider heat and cold. These seem like opposites, but they're actually the same phenomenon, molecular motion, just at different degrees. Darkness and light seem opposite, but light is just the presence of photons, and darkness is the absence of photons. They're the same thing at different degrees. Positive and negative electricity seem opposite, but they're both electricity, just with different polarity. This pattern holds true for emotions, thoughts, and states of consciousness as well. The implications of this understanding are transformative. It means there is no absolute evil or absolute good. There are only different degrees of the same energy. It means there is no absolute failure or absolute success. There are only different degrees of effort and result. It means that every problem contains within it the seed of its solution, because the problem and solution are the same thing at different degrees. Fear and courage are not opposite emotions. Fear is courage in a lower degree. Courage is fear that has been transmuted into a higher expression. Hatred and love are not opposites. Hatred is love in a lower degree. Love is hatred that has been elevated. Depression and joy are not different things. Depression is joy vibrating at a lower frequency. When someone is depressed and they suddenly shift their thinking, their energy, their perspective, they're not creating joy from nothing. They're raising the vibration of their existing emotional energy into a higher expression. This principle was central to ancient alchemy and remains central to modern emotional healing and transformation work. The alchemists understood that you cannot destroy energy. You can only transform it. The lead of lower emotions can be transformed into the gold of higher consciousness through the process of mental transmutation. When you feel anger arising, you don't need to suppress it or deny it. Instead, you recognize anger as creative energy at a lower vibration and consciously redirect it into productive action or fierce determination. When you feel fear, you recognize it as the same energy as courage, just at a lower degree, and you deliberately raise its vibration. The fifth principle is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. The universe is not static. It's constantly moving through cycles. Tides flow in and out. Seasons cycle through spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Your energy levels rise and fall throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the year. Relationships have cycles of closeness and distance. Businesses have cycles of growth and consolidation. Empires rise and fall. Civilizations grow and decline. The principle of rhythm teaches that nothing stays the same forever. What rises must eventually fall. What expands must eventually contract. What grows must eventually rest. Understanding this principle liberates you from the suffering that comes from resisting natural cycles. Many people become depressed or anxious when they experience a downswing in their rhythm, not realizing that this is a natural part of existence. They fight against the cycle, trying to maintain the high forever, and this resistance creates tremendous suffering. The wise person learns to recognize the rhythms of their life and works with them rather than against them. During expansive cycles, you invest, create, and build. During contractive cycles, you rest, reflect, and consolidate. During active cycles, you take action. During quiet cycles, you meditate and plan. Modern applications of this principle include moon phase rituals, where people set intentions during the waxing moon and practice release during the waning moon. It includes understanding your own biological rhythms and energy cycles so you can schedule important activities when your energy naturally aligns with them. The sixth principle is the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Nothing happens by chance. Everything that manifests in your life is the result of causes that preceded it. This principle is often called the law of karma or the law of causality. It states that the universe operates with perfect precision and order. For every action, there is a reaction. For every cause, there is a corresponding effect. Now, this principle can be deeply empowering or deeply disturbing, depending on your perspective. On one hand, it means that you are not a victim of circumstance. You're not subject to random misfortune. You are not at the mercy of fate. Everything in your life is the result of causes. And if you can identify the causes, you can change the effects. This means you have far more power over your life than you realized. Every circumstance you're experiencing is there because of decisions you made, thoughts you cultivated, or actions you took. This places responsibility squarely on your shoulders. This is why the three initiates emphasize that understanding the principle of cause and effect is essential for true empowerment. True power comes from understanding that you are the cause in your life. Your thoughts are causes, your beliefs are causes, your decisions are causes, your actions are causes, and your life circumstances are the effects of these causes. When you accept this completely, you stop blaming others, stop complaining about circumstances, and you stop waiting for someone or something to rescue you. Instead, you take responsibility for every aspect of your life and consciously create new causes that will produce new effects. The seventh principle is the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has masculine and feminine principles. Now, this principle is often misunderstood because people think it's only about biological sex, but Hermetic philosophy uses gender to describe two fundamental creative forces that operate throughout the universe. The masculine principle is the principle of initiation, action, direction, and force. The feminine principle is the principle of response, receptivity, gestation, and manifestation. In nature, these principles are balanced and working together constantly. The masculine sun provides energy and light. The feminine earth receives that energy and manifests life from it. Masculine thought creates an idea. Feminine mind gestates that idea until it becomes fully formed. In every act of creation, both principles are necessary. The masculine principle alone creates nothing but chaos and unfocused force. The feminine principle alone creates nothing but stagnation. But when balanced and working together, the masculine and feminine principles create infinite manifestation. At the human level, every person, regardless of biological sex, contains both masculine and feminine principles. Problems arise when people become unbalanced, operating predominantly from one principle and neglecting the other. Someone who is only masculine becomes aggressive, controlling, and disconnected from intuition and heart. Someone who is only feminine becomes passive, powerless, and disconnected from direction and will. The goal is to develop both principles equally and to know when to use each one appropriately in different situations. Now here's what's absolutely astounding. Every single one of these principles has been validated and integrated into modern scientific understanding. Mentalism aligns with quantum physics and neuroscience, showing that consciousness genuinely shapes perception. Correspondence aligns with systems theory and fractal geometry. Vibration aligns with physics and frequency medicine. Polarity aligns with thermodynamics and emotional psychology. Rhythm aligns with biology and chronobiology, validating natural cycles. Cause and effect aligns with causality and neuroscience. Gender aligns with biology and systems theory, confirming creative principles throughout nature. The ancient Hermetic philosophers were not making wild guesses. They were describing the actual mechanics of reality with stunning accuracy, using the language and concepts available to them. And now, as our scientific understanding has advanced, we're continuously discovering that these ancient teachings were describing reality with precision that rivals our modern scientific models. This is not coincidence. This is evidence that the Kybalion contains fundamental truth about how existence actually works. Think about how this transforms your understanding of life. You're not living in a random, chaotic universe where bad things happen for no reason. You're living in an ordered, lawful universe where everything operates according to precise principles. Your thoughts follow laws. Your emotions follow laws. Your relationships follow laws. Your health follows laws. Your finances follow laws. Once you understand these laws, you can work with them instead of against them. And when you work with them, your life begins to transform in ways that seem miraculous. Consider the principle of mentalism applied to your health. Your beliefs about your health directly impact your immune system, your stress levels, and your overall well-being. People who believe they are healthy tend to be healthier. People who constantly worry about illness tend to get sick more frequently. This isn't random. Your thoughts are creating your reality. Your belief system is programming your body to maintain health or to be prone to illness. By consciously working with the principle of mentalism, you can reprogram your beliefs about health and literally change your physical condition. Apply the principle of vibration to your relationships. People of matching vibration are attracted to each other. When you raise your vibration through self-improvement, personal development, and inner work, you naturally attract different people into your life. The people who were drawn to you when you were vibrating at a lower frequency may fall away because you no longer match their frequency. And new people who vibrate at your elevated frequency will naturally appear in your life. This is why so many people experience relationship changes as they go through spiritual or personal transformation. Use the principle of correspondence to understand your business. The way you treat your employees will determine how they treat your customers. The quality of communication within your company will be reflected in the quality of your products or services. The hierarchical structure of your organization will mirror the hierarchies of nature. The cycles of growth and contraction in your business will follow the same rhythms as ecosystems. When you understand these correspondences, you can look at different areas of your business and recognize patterns that need to be adjusted. Apply the principle of rhythm to your personal productivity. Instead of fighting against your natural energy cycles, work with them. If you naturally have high energy in the morning, schedule your most important work for the morning. If your energy dips in the afternoon, schedule lighter tasks or take a break. If you experience monthly or seasonal cycles in your energy, plan accordingly. When you stop fighting your natural rhythms and start working with them, your productivity soars and you experience far less burnout. The principle of cause and effect transforms your relationship with your past, present, and future. Instead of regretting past mistakes, you recognize them as necessary learning experiences that set up the causes for your current wisdom. Instead of worrying about the future, you recognize that your future is being determined by the causes you're creating right now through your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. This gives you tremendous hope and confidence because you're no longer waiting for life to happen to you. You're actively creating your life through conscious choices. Use the principle of polarity to transform your emotional landscape. When you feel stuck in a negative emotion, don't try to force yourself into the opposite positive emotion. Instead, recognize that they're the same energy at different degrees. Take the negative emotion and consciously elevate it. Take anger and elevate it into fierce determination. Take fear and elevate it into cautious readiness. Take jealousy and elevate it into appreciation and inspiration. By understanding that these emotions are the same energy at different degrees, you gain the power to shift your emotional state without denying or suppressing what you're actually feeling. Apply the principle of gender to achieve better balance in your life and work. In your career, are you operating too much from the masculine principle of force and action without the feminine principle of strategy and intuition? In your relationships, are you too receptive and passive, lacking the masculine principle of clear direction and healthy boundaries? By consciously balancing both principles, you become more effective, more powerful, and more fulfilled. You become capable of both strong action and deep receptivity, strong conviction and flexible adaptation, clear direction and intuitive responsiveness. The implications of truly understanding the Kybalion's 7 principles are staggering. You're not living in a universe that's indifferent to your existence. You're living in a universe that operates according to laws that you can learn, understand, and apply. You're not subject to random misfortune. You're not a victim of circumstance. You're the conscious creator of your life, operating within an ordered, lawful universe where every thought, belief, and action produces specific effects. This is the real power that the Kybalion reveals. Throughout history, elite thinkers and leaders have understood these principles. The most successful entrepreneurs intuitively apply these laws. The most accomplished artists and performers understand vibration and frequency. The most respected leaders understand cause and effect and take responsibility for creating the causes that produce the effects they want to see. The most fulfilled people understand rhythm and work with their natural cycles instead of against them. The most evolved spiritual practitioners apply all 7 principles as they cultivate higher consciousness and spiritual mastery. Now imagine applying these principles intentionally and consciously to every area of your life. Imagine understanding the laws that govern your thoughts, emotions, relationships, health, finances, and spiritual development. Imagine being able to diagnose why something in your life isn't working by recognizing which principle is being violated or which law is being fought against. Imagine having the knowledge and tools to realign yourself with the laws of the universe and watch your life transform accordingly. This is exactly what the Kybalion offers. It's not a book of fantasy or wishful thinking. It's a manual for living in alignment with the actual structure of reality. It's a blueprint for conscious creation and intentional manifestation. It's the knowledge that has been preserved, protected, and passed down through the greatest minds of history. And now it's available for anyone willing to study it, understand it, and apply it. The 3 initiates wrote the Kybalion with the understanding that humanity was ready for this knowledge. They believed that enlightenment was not the exclusive domain of monks in monasteries or philosophers in ivory towers. They believed that ordinary people, living ordinary lives, could access this profound wisdom and use it to transform their circumstances, heal their wounds, and step into their full potential. They were right. The evidence is all around us. People who have studied these principles have gone on to create extraordinary lives, build successful businesses, heal their relationships, improve their health, and access levels of peace and fulfillment that most people think are impossible. The beautiful thing about these 7 principles is that they're not theories you have to believe in. They're laws you can test and verify for yourself. You can experiment with the principle of mentalism by consciously changing your thoughts and observing how your reality shifts. You can experiment with the principle of vibration by raising your emotional frequency and noticing what different opportunities and people appear in your life. You can experiment with the principle of cause and effect by becoming aware of how your choices today create your circumstances tomorrow. You don't have to take anyone's word for it. You can test these principles in your own life and discover their truth directly. You can learn to think thoughts that create the circumstances you desire. You can raise your vibration to attract success, love, and abundance. You can recognize the patterns in your life and work with them instead of against them. You can take responsibility for creating the causes that produce the effects you want to experience. You can balance the masculine and feminine principles within yourself and become a complete, integrated human being. The knowledge is there, waiting for you. The principles are operating whether you understand them or not. The question is not whether the universe operates according to laws. The question is whether you will consciously learn these laws and begin working with them. Every great transformation in human history has occurred when individuals discovered, understood, and applied universal principles that had been hidden from ordinary people. The Kybalion represents one of the greatest collections of universal principles ever assembled. And now this knowledge is available to you. What you choose to do with it will determine the trajectory of your life. The choice, as always, is yours.